Good morning and welcome to Making Peace with Money with your host, Laurie Lomantia, Professor, CPO, and Prosperity Coach. Get ready to master your life and your money, not the other way around. Now, here is your host, Laurie Lamontia.
Good morning and welcome to our show today where I wanted to talk about building your money muscles. The opportunity that we're going to spend here for this hour is talking about the different muscles that you can build to create peace with money. Because the stronger you feel with respect to money and with respect to your philosophy and approach to money, the more at peace you will feel around money. And so today I thought it would be really helpful to spend some time focusing on some muscles that you can intentionally choose to build to strengthen inside of yourself so that you can have a stronger, more healthy, prosperous relationship with money and peace within yourself. So that's what we're doing today. We're going to just go through, I'm going to give you a bunch of muscles that I'm hoping you'll consider developing and working with on a day-to-day basis to grow this power within yourself. So really what I'd like to do right now is set the intention. I'd like for us to set our intention that for the next hour we are going to intend to develop these muscles, to hear this information in a new way, and let something fresh come to us that maybe we hadn't thought about before or hadn't experienced before with respect to our relationship with money so that we can start to have a new experience. So this intention is really to start to build these muscles, which some of them may be strong, but some of them may have atrophied, and some of them you might not have developed at all. So this is an opportunity for you to start putting your attention, energy, and focus on these concepts, and that builds the muscle. And again, I want to reiterate that prosperity is a choice, and that's really one of the first muscles that I'd like for us to consider, and I'd like for you to start to develop, is that your prosperity consciousness is your choice. So when you walk into any kind of an experience, are you feeling prosperous in that moment? Are you choosing to take yourself into the moment in as much prosperity and as much clarity and as much peace as you can feel in that moment? The first muscle is really using your muscle of choice to choose prosperity. So the opportunity when you're developing this muscle is to look at where you are in this moment and say, how can I think prosperously? How can I speak most prosperously? How could I share whatever action I'm taking in a most prosperous way? It's interesting. It feels like moment to moment, present moment, prospering, meaning choosing in this moment to be prosperous. And the reason why it's a muscle is because we're having to make that choice. So choice making is an important aspect of developing any muscle. First, we have to become conscious that we want to develop the muscle. Same thing when we go and work out. We especially with the new year, we're deciding, hey, I want to get lean, I want to get stronger, I want to get healthier, whatever it is, we are having the intention to get healthier. That's the first step, that choice, the intention to build the muscle of getting stronger. Then we have to show up at the health club, or we have to show up and do our sit-ups. That's where we actually put our actions and efforts and intention into action, when we show up, when we do it, when we live it. And making that choice, that you're building the muscle right there by making the choice to go to the health club versus sit in front of the TV. You're changing your pattern, you're changing your behavior, you're changing your approach. And that's what I'm talking about when I'm talking about muscle building towards a prosperity consciousness and towards making peace with money. We need to make different choices, and then we need to show up with those choices in situations where in the past we might have done something habitual, like overreacted or gotten afraid that we don't have enough money, or gotten angry because there's not enough for me, or I'm sick of paying my bills. Those are the moments when we pull out our conscious choice and intent and say, no, I'm choosing to build a different consciousness here, and I'm choosing to use my prosperity muscle in this case. Or there's a whole bunch of them we'll talk about, but the concept of muscle building it's kind of obvious, but I want us to really start to realize that this is our choice, and we need to really put the attention, energy, and focus to develop the muscle and help it grow. And also, the interesting thing about this is I just don't want you to think it's a PMA or positive mental attitude. This is a big part of it, but it's not the only thing. A lot of times people talk about affirmations or just positive thinking, and that's not what this is. We are actually embodying the thoughts that we're having. It's not just, oh, I feel I am prosperous. It's I feel prosperous. I actually walk through the door of this moment feeling and knowing my true essence, which is prosperity. I walk into this moment knowing in a whole person way that I am at peace with money. And that's very different. And so, one of the things that I've been spending a lot of time thinking about is when you approach any moment or you approach any experience, look at it like I'm not hoping to become it someday. I'm not looking at it like someday in the future I'm going to be this prosperous person. Meditate or think about it and look at whatever you're walking into as it. You already have it. You are the person in the middle of whatever it is you're choosing to experience. So, and I was talking with my business partner about this. I said, I don't want us to just keep talking about wishing to be a prosperous business. I want to walk through the door knowing we are a prosperous business. And me walking into the office every day knowing I'm a part of a prosperous business and acting like it is very different than me walking in hoping someday we will be. And so I want you to really feel the difference between positive mental attitude and embodiment. And embodiment is what we're after. When I say we're building these muscles, we're actually taking on the mantle. We are pulling it into ourselves. We are walking through the day with this, I'm calling it a mantle, but this entire whole body experience, a mind, body, spirit choice of feeling prosperous. So I'm hoping that you're starting to sense the difference or the opportunity here to choose to develop these muscles and actually walk through your life with these muscles strong and courageously being in use. And of course, the classic thing about muscle building, if you've ever been to the gym, is you also know that if you don't use it, you lose it. And so you can feel prosperous one day, you can be strong one day, and if you don't keep growing it, developing it, and putting attention towards it, it does atrophy. The generosity muscle could easily atrophy if you're not practicing a generous, open heart daily, or at least once a week, looking for the things that were wonderful that you could feel great about. So part of the opportunity in this muscle building experience is using it. It's like anything. If you don't use it, you lose it. So I want to talk about a muscle that I think is really valuable in holding our own center. And the muscle is I call it live and let live. And it's really a muscle about free will. It's about saying, I have the opportunity to choose to be as prosperous as I can. And you know what? I let other people have their choices. I let other people live their lives, and I don't tolerate that. I just don't even get all entangled in it. The Live and Let Live muscle is about understanding that you get to choose whatever you want, you get to create whatever you want, and that goes the same for everyone else. Everyone else in the world gets to do it too. So we don't have to get all balled up in what somebody else is choosing and why they're choosing it and go ahead and choose it, just stay out of my way. We don't have to put any energy or drama into it. The Live and Let Live muscle gives us perfect permission to say, hey, that's your choice. That's how you are approaching it. That's cool. You're a powerful creator. Go for it. And it also gives us permission to live and live the life that we're creating, the life we're choosing. So we can choose anything, and we can live any way we want, and so can another. So don't waste your valuable life energy trying to get others to live differently or try to get others to live the way you want. Choose to live prosperously and let others live the way they want to. So this is your opportunity when on a day today or whatever day you choose to develop this muscle and spend some time with it, to let people just have their thing and then give yourself permission to have your thing. It's interesting because I'm kind of wondering if you're feeling, well, what does that have to do with making peace with money? It's got everything to do with making peace with money, because if you're getting entangled in other people's dramas, especially their financial dramas, then or you're getting connected, you feel like you have to manage them in order for you to be happy, you're giving your power away. The Live and Let Live muscle lets you own your power, hold your power, and use your power. And, of course, it's a very respectful muscle because it lets others do the same. So, and I just want to let you know, we're going to go into break, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about some more muscles. But I actually created a deck of cards. There's 52 cards that are all different muscles that you can develop. And if you send me an email to theabundancecenter.com, I'll actually send you a sample of the cards, and you can see if you want to buy the deck and start pulling a card every day and developing the muscle. Or you can go to the website, theabundancecenter.com, and you can pick up a deck of the cards, and you can start to play with the cards yourself and start to develop the muscles that are associated with the cards and with the ideas that I'm talking about here. But again, what we're doing here is introducing you to the idea that you have a choice about developing your prosperity muscles, so let's do it. So when we get back from the break, I'll tell you some more muscles. Hi, and welcome back. And we're talking about developing your money muscles. And amazingly, we've already covered two, which is the choice muscle, choosing how you're going to feel and act in any moment, and the Live and Let Live muscle, which is letting yourself live prosperously or how you choose to create, and of course, letting other people do the same. And I mentioned before the break that when you're choosing to build your muscles, you're actually putting your attention on that thought. And whatever you put your attention on grows. So that's how you're developing the muscle, is because you're putting your attention, energy, and focus, and you're building that. And what many of us have already done is built our scarcity muscles, the fear of not having enough. That's a strong muscle inside of us. The fear of not working hard enough, the fear of something outside of us, pulling the rug out from under us. Interestingly enough, we've already put a tremendous amount of muscle building into scarcity. And what I'm asking you to do is put a conscious effort into developing prosperity, the muscles and the thoughts, the mindsets and approaches that foster and help prosperity to flourish. So, and we're already a year into the show, so you should be well on your way to creating a new approach and building these new muscles, even without us actually having the conscious talk about building the muscle. And the great thing is, when you develop these mindsets, they'll become a part of your natural way of living, and you'll automatically choose them, and then they'll automatically stay strong. They will keep developed and toned through the repetition and practice. And so that's the key here, is practice, practice, practice. So I just want to talk, I'm going to talk about three more muscles next. I'm calling the next three muscles that we're going to talk about are the be present muscle, the pave the way muscle, and pivoting muscle. Be present muscle is the classic, am I in the present moment, and am I available for my prosperity to get to me? Because when we live fully in the present moment, and the more awake we are to the love and possibilities and prosperity around us, the more we are available to it and the more it can flow in. It's interesting. I really feel in a lot of ways when we're so distracted, when we're running so fast, when we're pushing and making things happen and we're not present, all our good is having a harder time getting to us. Of course, it's always there and flowing, and it can creep in a whole bunch of different ways. But when you choose to be present and take a breath and be in this moment right now, you are at a full host of opportunity in this moment now. You're at the moment of choosing how you're going to approach the next moment. You're at the moment of choosing to embody prosperity, peace now. And the cool thing about that is wherever you are now, it's paving the way for the next moment. So being in the present moment is paving the way in a quality way, in a conscious way for the future. So I really want you to think about how can, in what ways can I be more clear and present in this moment now? Some people set a little bell. The way they develop this muscle is every hour on the hour, they stop and take a breath. Or when they're at yoga, they do some deep breathing, and they don't think of anything else but watching their breath. It's really simple. Or just take a moment and notice all the cool things about a flower sitting in front of you. It's fascinating how much abundance and beauty is sitting right in front of us that we don't even notice because we're not present. So this is the be present muscle. Develop it by choosing to notice and be in this moment and not in the past or in the future. The next muscle is the pave the way muscle, and this is really about paving the way for tomorrow and the next day and the next day and the next moment and the next moment. One time I was working with my trainer, and he's like, "How you do it? You know, how was your week?" And I'm like, "Oh, I had the best week ever, and I'm going to have the best week ever." And he's like, "Do tell." And so he was looking for some juicy gossip about, well, what was so great about it. And I basically said, well, I'm paving the way for the best week ever. I don't know what's going to happen, but I know it's going to be the best. And I think he was a little let down, but on the same token, I was making a declarative statement that I'm paving the way through my intention, through my standing in this moment saying, I'm going to have the best week ever. And this is your opportunity to pave the way for the experiences that you want to have that are a reflection of your prosperity consciousness. Again, when you pave the way, you're saying, this is what I would like to see happen. This is my preference in the matter. And you're getting clear. In a lot of ways, it's an intention muscle, which says, in this moment, I can choose a lot of different directions. I'm going to choose the one that feels most prosperous. So know that you have the power to decide in advance how you're going to feel in whatever situation you're going to do next. I often use the example of Thanksgiving dinner. People go to their families and they think, oh, here we go again. I know exactly what's going to happen. And they're actually paving the way for the same old crap to happen, whether it's the family member picking on them or somebody saying something and, the whole thing going up in smoke. But when you pave the way, you can choose to go to that family function and pave the way of, I know I'm going to have a great time. I know that the interactions that I have are going to be peaceful, loving, considerate, and I am just going to have a wonderful time at that meal. And you'd be surprised how you remember what you told yourself because you paved the way and it happens. So next time you're faced with what to do, pave the way towards a prosperity experience, towards a peaceful, loving, prosperous, full money experience. Why not? The next muscle that I wanted to share with you is the pivoting muscle. And actually, this is a tool that Abraham talks about in his work with Esther and Jerry Hicks. And I think the Abraham work is wonderful, and I'm sure many of you, if you're listening to the show, probably listen and work with them, because I feel it's a very beautiful truth that they're teaching us. And they talk about pivoting. And the interesting thing is, what they call pivoting is the process of taking a not-so-good feeling thought or experience and finding a better feeling thought right there in the moment. So if you're feeling not so great, or you're thinking, I could never, you can pivot to, well, I could give it a try. Or you can pivot from, I can't afford that, to, I bet I can find something comparable and I can afford that. This is, again, a moment-to-moment choice to pivot from something that doesn't feel good, that doesn't feel peaceful, and a thought that doesn't feel the way you want to feel about money, and choosing a new thought. It's a very powerful experience, and it's so valuable. But it's, again, something you have to choose to do. It's something you first you're catching yourself. Wow, there I go again. I say I can't afford that. What's a new thought that I can choose that feels a little better? Like I've afforded other things. Boy, look at this week. I went to the grocery store. I was able to pay my electric. I actually experienced a free lunch. You can replace I can't afford that thought with a better feeling thought, and that's the pivot. You're going to pivot from the not-so-good thought to the better feeling thought and make a choice and then choose to go down that path. But again, that's a muscle, because you have to choose it, and then you got to develop it, and then you got to do it over and over and over so that it gets strong. There's a muscle-building aspect in this pivoting why it's a muscle that we're choosing to develop with pivoting. The next muscle I wanted to talk to you about is the already here muscle. In this mindset and this approach, and what we're going to embody is the knowledge that prosperity is already here. So because one of the most detrimental things we do is we believe that prosperity is not there for us. And I came upon this muscle when I was thinking about money, and I had this aha that I think it's available. I just don't think it's available to me. And so on some level, this already here muscle is about me saying it's here. It's here for me, and it's here right now, because I know that life is prosperous, and all I need to do really is allow it in. So I want you to, this is a muscle and this is a courageous choice on some level, because we are always acculturated to think that it's available and it's available to us. So there's two big hurdles that are involved in building this muscle. First, that it's here, and second, that the money, the wherewithal, the well-being, the health, the great relationships, the love is here, and it's here for us. So this muscle is, and this one I would say, if you spend a few minutes every day or even 1 minute looking and saying, my prosperity is already here. Whenever you see yourself feeling alone, abandoned, forgotten, overwhelmed, those are all messages to yourself to say, hey, wait a second, I'm going to choose my already here muscle, and I'm going to choose to know that prosperity is already around me, and now I'm going to say yes to it. That's what the already here muscle is about. So isn't it fascinating? To me, I find these muscles kind of all are saying the same thing, but they're all coming at it from a different approach. And when we build these collectively, our consciousness starts to shift. Our experience with the world starts to shift, because when we are in that mode of living it, the change starts inside of us. It starts inside of us first. That's what embodiment is. We become it, we are it, and then the experience in the outside world, our life in the outside world, changes. So that's why you can do all this muscle building right here, right now. All you have to do is spend time embodying these ideas, these these approaches, and when you start walking in the world with these intentions, you're going to experience the world very differently. So when we come back, I have a guest, and we're going to work through the muscle cards together and see how somebody else sees and feels and approaches the muscle building. So stay with us. Welcome back, and I've asked Judy, a friend of mine, to work with us today, working with the muscles, and I actually gave her a deck of the muscle cards so that we could work as a buddy system to using the muscles cards together. So, Judy, thanks for being here.
Oh, my pleasure entirely.
Oh, thank you. So one of the things, and just as an introduction for the listeners, is when I work with cards, so that when you have a deck of cards or anything, it's really good to set your intention or ask the question before you pull a card so you get a clear connection between the card and what you wanted to know. And so Judy was asking me, well, what do I need to what should I ask? What questions should I have? And if you don't know what exactly to ask, what I like to do is say, what do I need to know now? I would like some clarity about what would help me right now with respect to making peace with money or feeling more prosperous. And then, once you ask that question clearly in your mind, then go ahead and pull the card and see what card you pull. So a lot of people think, oh, it's just random, but it's really not. This is a wonderful way of using the life stuff around you to give yourself messages and help. So that's why we're using the cards today as a way to give us information about something we might not have otherwise thought about. So, Judy, why don't you grab the cards and ask your question?
Okay. My question would be kind of along the lines of what you said. What do I need to know, or what should I be made aware of in regards to achieving peace with money?
Excellent.
So,
and then go ahead and randomly pull a card and read it to us.
It says the contentment muscle. Oh, this is a good one. Isn't
it cool?
Yes. It says, and God saw everything that was made, and behold, it was very good. On the seventh day rested. I choose to give myself the feeling of contentment by acknowledging what I have created and experienced and feeling good about it. I think that's key right there, those last few words, and feeling good about it.
Yeah, totally. So do you see how this could be a muscle?
Yes. Yeah, because it's so easy to get caught up in I haven't achieved anything, or what I'm doing isn't good enough, or I'm not getting where my financial goals aren't, I'm not anywhere near getting there.
Right, and the cool thing about the contentment muscle, and realize this is a message from you to you. So I really want you to feel you're trying to really give yourself a message here, and and it's unique, and it would change. It could change from day to day. It could change from now and an hour from now. You pull a different card, but you'd be fascinated sometimes if you pull the same card like 3 days in a row. Mm-hmm. You're trying to really, hey, wake up here. Yeah. Give yourself a wake up message, but. What you noticed that you can choose to be contented, and we've actually, interestingly enough, Judy and I have had this conversation before about contentment. Yeah. That contentment it could be a lot of people think contentment isn't such a good thing because then you're sitting back on your laurels, right?
Right. Yeah. You're not being driven if you're just feeling content all the time.
Right. And so given what you know about the law of attraction, if you're always driving yourself, what are you creating more of?
Movement.
Right. And a need to always be driving yourself. Mm-hmm. The cool thing about contentment and the contentment muscle is when you feel content, you're creating more of you're paving the way for a future of more contentment.
Oh, yes. Yes. Now, what I also like, though, is just, it's not saying that you should sit back and relax.
No.
It's just you're acknowledging what you've already done.
Exactly, and appreciating it. Mm-hmm. There's an aspect, and that's why we had that. There was that quote about God looked at everything He created and said it was good. Didn't say, I should tweak that tiger, and that mountain just isn't in the right spot, and the clouds, we got to do something with them. I mean, there wasn't that discontent with what was created.
Yeah, and then I also think what's kind of important about that is it's like, if you look at that particular Bible verse, it says, on the seventh day rested.
Yeah. And
then if you take it the next step, the next day you're going to start again.
Right, you're going to dive back in, but at least you've had that moment.
It's like it's not going to be the seventh day forever where you're just going to keep resting. Like you said, resting on your laurels.
Right. Excellent point. Excellent. And interestingly enough, there's another muscle that is in the deck of cards about letting your well-being in. And the when we're at rest, when we're in the present moment, we're actually giving ourselves a rejuvenation period. But sometimes it's easier for the well-being to get in because we're not being distracted and on the move. Mm-hmm. So there's all kinds of benefit to that rest piece. And of course, what you're saying about, and it doesn't last forever. We're always motivated to grow, to change, to do something else. So we're going to be diving back in.
Right. Well, if you use the whole, muscle theory, it's the same thing like if you exercise. Every trainer says you don't, push yourself every single day. You have to give your muscles a rest.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you switch off from one muscle to the other, exactly. And we were talking about on the break that whole health fitness. On some level, what we're developing with these muscles is a whole health mental approach to prosperity. And you know what the cool thing is? I was saying when you start developing one of these, all of a sudden all the muscles start to come together and start to develop.
Yes. Well, I think you kind of get used to, quote unquote, exercising.
Right. So how could you see developing contentment? Because that's the muscle you pulled for today. Mm-hmm. How could you see, thinking about your day going forward, how can you see really developing it today or working with that muscle today?
Well, I think it would have to be a lot of the thinking in my mind in using that little phrase, feeling good about it. Mm-hmm. And just really appreciate what I have accomplished so far. Instead of, and here would be a good example. At the first of the year, we sat down and made a budget for the year. In 12 days, I've spent a lot of time stressing over that stupid little budget. Whereas now, maybe today, if I would just feel peaceful that I'm keeping to that budget and I can handle that budget, and if I go over my budget, it's okay. Mm-hmm. But concentrate more on the feeling good about, that aspect of my life.
Oh, yeah. And, like I mentioned to you, even having a budget is just so, I was so impressed. I can't even get myself to sit down. I round my checkbook to the nearest 1,000 because I don't want to even deal with it, So, yeah. So for you to have such a tight, and for you listeners, I'm always so impressed with you. She is amazing. And I call her the most prosperous person I know, and she doesn't even think so. But she's got this amazing budget that she adheres to, and makes so much happen within within
you can say so little.
I'll say so little. Sorry, I didn't want to go. You have so much you need to do, and you do it with what I think if people realized you're able to raise 6 kids on basically one person's salary. That's amazing. And you should give yourself a huge, oh my gosh, I feel good about that, a contentment with that. Because I can't even raise Mark and I, and we don't have any kids, and and we have 2 salaries.
Yeah.
So,
and that's why this contentment muscle is so good, and I think so important, at least for me.
Yeah, and feel good about it. Excellent. I totally agree. Well, and I'll be here to support you with that too. So that's the process. Is you ask yourself that question before you pull the card, and then you pull the card and check in and say, what message am I trying to tell myself? And I love the way you zeroed in right in on the piece that you needed, mm-hmm. About feel good about it right now. And then through the rest of the day, you just kind of, you can leave it on your desk and just reflect back and notice it and say, oh, here's my opportunity for contentment, or where can I bring that contentment in? And that develops the muscle. And then, tomorrow you can pull a different card, or you can actually spend time with that muscle for a few days so it sets in and really takes root inside your consciousness.
Well, I think that's important, at least for me, because contentment seems to be so fleeting that if I could really strengthen that particular muscle, so it's not such a chore to become content.
Mm-hmm. Right. Oh, here I go again. Got to be content. Exactly. Yeah. And you know what's weird? It's like, again, like when you're working on at the gym, you work hard, and then all of a sudden one day something happens and you're able to lift the 50 pounds without even thinking about it, where before it was so hard. Mm-hmm. We do adjust. Our body steps up. Our being steps up. And so, for a while it might feel like a little bit of a chore, but then you step up and you step in, and then you own it.
Yeah.
So I really appreciate you being here for this segment.
Well, thank you. I always learn something from you.
I'm so glad you and I appreciate your time, too.
Well, thank you.
So thank you. And we're going to go to a break, and when we get back, we'll wrap up, and I'll give you some homework for developing your muscles. Hi, and welcome back. And we've been talking about developing your money muscles, and you're probably noticing that a lot of these money muscles aren't actually money related at all. They're actually, I want to say consciousness related or philosophy related. And that means that when you change your approach to living and experiencing your day-to-day life, it's going to affect your money. It has to affect your experience of money. But I also want to say that there is some very specific money muscles in the deck that you can develop. And one of them is, oddly enough, peace with money muscle. Because it's important for us to understand that peace with your present money situation now will create peace with your money situation in the future. And so, again, interestingly enough, the way to create peace with money going forward is to be at peace with it now, to embody peace inside of your mind, heart, and body, that you are at peace with money, whatever your money situation is. And that's where the contentment comes in, too. Contentment with where you're at and what you've created to this point. And so it's interesting, the opportunities that we have to be at peace with money are about choices about how we use our money and how we go about experiencing our money. And I'll be honest, for me, to be at peace with money, I felt I needed to put myself through a money education program. And you know the things you need to do in order to build this muscle so that you can be at peace, too. And so I read a lot of investment books. I read a lot of metaphysical money books. I talk about money a lot. I share stock tips with my friends. I'm not afraid of the stock market. I do the things that I walk into the fears that I need to walk into around money to feel strong that I'm holding my own space with respect to money. And that's another muscle, the opportunity to be empowered towards money. And I shouldn't call it an opportunity. It's your birthright. Your birthright is to own your solid 100% creative capability, and that means you are the master of money, not money the master of you. And we've talked about that before. So when you can stand in that power, you can embody the peace around interacting with money or around interacting with your friends or, a stranger. It's all the same. When you have a certain money confidence, so to speak, you don't feel uncomfortable around money. And so that's what we're creating here. And again, the opportunity is we can create it inside of ourselves and watch it come forth outside of ourselves. And there's a difference. A lot of people say, well, I can't believe it about myself until I see it outside. That's backwards. It starts inside, and then you see it outside. So the opportunity with building these muscles is we're seeing it inside, we're feeling it inside, and then we'll experience it outside. And the other thing that's kind of neat is you don't actually have to buy these cards. You can get yourself to and this is actually probably a very good practice for you, is to go out there and start deciding, well, what is prosperity consciousness to me? What are the things I feel like I need to do, say, and feel in order to be at peace with money? And notice how most of them you're going to need to do on a consistent, regular basis. So you can put your own set of money muscles together and then start doing them. List them out and then start putting quality attention, energy, and focus towards them, whether it's generosity, enoughness. These are some of my muscles, knowing I have enough and feeling I've done enough. And that's somewhat of a contentment muscle, but from the perspective of fullness, enoughness. I also have a welcoming muscle where I'm welcoming of new opportunities, new ideas, new approaches. Being in a welcoming place allows your prosperity to get to you. So here's your opportunity to proactively go and develop and intend to use and develop your money muscles so that you are in that driver's seat, so to speak, with respect to money. And there's the set of cards. You can come to theabundancecenter.com and pick up the set of cards and then use this show. I was hoping you could actually re-listen to this show and start to get a feel for how to use the cards and also how to develop and use the messaging and the help that's all around you and you don't even need a card. All you can say is at the beginning of the day, I intend to get clarity about how to be at peace with money. And that day, I guarantee you, if you make the intention, something will come in and it will show you how to have peace with money. Whether a bill comes in or a check comes in or a book drops in your lap or somebody says something, but you'll notice because all of a sudden your ears will perk up and you're like, what did you say? Or why did you say that? And it'll be a response to your question that you set. And when you start to use that, one of my friends calls it your shaman on your shoulder. It's that wisdom that's on your shoulder that when you ask a question, life shows up to answer it. Life shows up to help you understand. Life shows up to give you what you need because as we've learned on this show, life is on your side and prosperity is yours. All you need to do is say yes to it and start noticing it. It's there. Part of what we're doing with the muscle building is learning how to allow it into ourselves, allow it into our experience. So what we've been doing here is making conscious some of the things that we can do, but you don't need a deck of cards. You just need the intent to live in peace with money. Because as you make that intent and as you develop that consciousness, and most of all, when you spend even 5 minutes a day feeling at peace with money, you're embodying that peace, and that's got to start showing up in your life. And it might not show up fast, and that's the thing. And it might show up, and you might not even notice it. But I know, and I'll hold the space for you here. I know it's showing up because an honest intention always is honored and draws to it. Whether you actually consciously notice or not, it's coming to you. So trust me on this. When you choose to be at peace with money, things are going to start becoming, they might get a little chaotic at first, but things will start changing, and you'll look back after a year or a couple months, and let's say a couple months because time is compressing. We talked about that. And you'll start to be, oh my gosh, I am more peaceful. Oh my gosh, I am more contented. Oh my gosh, I do see all this wonderful prosperity around me. I know it's there. Oh my gosh, I know how to pave the way now, and it's so simple. I'm doing it, and I'm not even making a conscious effort towards it. That's when you know you're so much on. You're already arrived, and now it's just more of this, more and cooler and better and more developed instead of thinking it's not there, it is there. So I wish you a lot of wonder and play and enjoyment as you develop your prosperity muscles. Have a great week, and we'll see you next week.